Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to my podcast. I'm Heimo Scheuch, and today I have a very, very special guest. I'm very honored. And Ali, that you are here. Ali Sheri is an artist, originally from Lebanon, from Beirut, now living in Paris. And there's a lot of things both of us will talk about today. But obviously, your visit here in Vienna is a special one because yesterday was the first performance of your film, right?
Yes, exactly. We screened The Dam for the first time in Austria.
And The Dam is a very interesting film. I saw some parts of it, and you presented it some time ago, I think also in Italy, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, we premiered in Cannes in 2022, and then it toured in many countries and got released also in theaters.
Yeah. And so happy about the night yesterday in Vienna.
It was a great night. I really enjoyed it. We had very interesting and engaging discussion after the screening. We had some people from the Sudanese community because The Dam is shot in Sudan. So yeah, it was for me a very emotional moment and really enjoyed it.
Great, and that's, I think, the most important thing also, right? In a city of art like Vienna, to present a film like this is obviously, I think, a great pleasure for you.
Yes, it is. It is, and a great audience as well.
Yeah. If you go to the film and your artwork, coming from a country that was torn apart, if I may say so, the Lebanon, it's interesting if we probably touch upon a little bit the current developments there and the art and the impact, if you don't mind. When I studied in the 80s in Paris, I had a lot of friends from Beirut, and that was a very different Beirut then. And what a shame, actually, what happened to your country. Torn apart by so many sort of civil wars and unfortunate event, but this obviously plays an important role, I would say, in your development and especially in your art, right?
I mean, of course, like any artist, with the starting point is always your personal experience. So that's the experience we've had. That's the context, the anchor we have. Even if I'm living in Paris now, my anchor is still Beirut, the city where I grew up and where I studied. So this question of living in a city in violence and in continuous violence became a central part of my reflection. Although like the first works that I was doing were a lot directly dealing with the question of war. What does it mean to survive? How do we tell a story after violence? But more recently, I also worked in other countries and other contexts, trying to look at other narratives or how other people also go through these traumatic experiences and what we can learn from them. So it became like a central part of my work, yes.
And interesting is that when you go back in not so long history, the Lebanon and Beirut, called the Switzerland of the Middle East, a very open
one of the myths.
But a very open-minded society where a lot of cultures live together, religions live together, and sometimes what can we learn actually from this? What happened to your country? Because today we are living also in a lot of change and process of different directions.
I mean, I think that's what we're, as Lebanese, trying to understand. I mean, of course, I mean, we live in a geography and a context also of tension, and it's been ongoing, I mean, since the creation of the country, since also the division that happened of territory, of borders, how identities and the construction of national historical narrative happened. So I think what started as on the wrong base maybe of how these identities were put together and imagined and sometimes forced is the consequence of what we're living today. I mean, I think the question of nationhood, of nationalism, things that I deal till today with. I mean, what does it mean to die for your country, to fight for an ideology, to believe in higher, like higher superior values? So all these things become on a shaky ground, and it makes you question, all these constructs, like who writes history, who gets what kind of authority is allowed to tell who is the winner, who is the loser, who are the heroes, who are the traitors. So all these questions that sometimes we take for granted in a place like Lebanon, they are put on the table and questioned every day. And I think as artists, it becomes part of our role to show the complexities of these constructs. I mean, what we think is taken for granted is way more complex, and we have to, like, question and look at it maybe in different ways. So I mean, of course, it breaks my heart that the country that I love and that, as you said, I mean, has a lot of qualities, and I have to say, like, even today with everything that's happened, Lebanon and especially Beirut has such a beautiful energy. And if you think about the arts, it's a place where there's such a dynamic, like art scene, people who are still believing, opening new art spaces, imagining new projects, even projecting into a future, while we know that this future might not arrive, or at least not as we imagine it to be. So I learn a lot, I think, from this, from the people who are there and who are still believing and fighting and hoping for better days.
It's very interesting what you say, and I will come back to this sort of aspect of creation in difficult times in a very unstable environment. But when you look at your work and what you have done, and when you say, and in one of your interviews in the Biennale, you speak also about you make a creation out of mud. Yeah, mud, clay, or earth, whatever you call it. Actually, when you talk about this, the political movements and different religious and cultural movements, all of us are created by mud, basically, right? And even in some of our holy books that we all share, actually, as a community, we are created and we go back, right?
Yes.
And that's it's fascinating when I look at what you have done, and also the project in Sudan, and when you see the people as they work with. Why is it so complicated that we humans don't accept this?
I'll ask with you the same question.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I try to show in my work, like how as humanity we've always had the same dreams, the same imagination. We saw then in this coming together of earth and water as the materiality of creation. I mean, as you mentioned, like Adam's created from mud, the golems are created from mud. Even if you go back to Gilgamesh, like Enkidu, Gilgamesh friend, is created from mud. So we saw in this simple materiality of earth and water possibility of other worlds to exist, other possibilities to arise. And that's why I think today it's important to look at this practice, of as humans, where we create things that are beyond our power. We create our gods from mud. That's what can we learn from this as a shared, like a practice, shared experience of humanity, but also looking at this as the political power of creation or of imagination, that our imagination is political. Like, to be able to imagine a different world is already a strategy to change the world we live in.
Sorry to interrupt you, but it's a very interesting aspect. When you talk about imagination, and you raised this a couple of times, do you think that today we have not enough imagination? Or a certain group of people has not enough imagination?
No, but I think, I speak a lot about, like, from where I come from and the rule of the authoritarian regimes. And I think of it like what these authoritarian regimes do. First of thing, they colonize, they take over our possibility of imagining, like that you cannot imagine a world where, Hafez al-Assad doesn't exist, or Mubarak, or Qaddafi. It's like they take hold of saying there is no alternative. We are the only possible world that could exist, and you have to accept this world. So I think when people go down on the street and reclaim their power of, you know, like taking hold of their destiny, of their, you know, like of their political progression and history, is the first thing they do is that we think the other worlds are possible. So we could imagine other alternatives. I mean, Hannah Arendt spoke about this, I mean, much better than I would do, about the power of imagination. Imagination is a political project, and we have to reclaim it. Reclaim that we can imagine, and there's other possibilities that are imaginable. You think we live today in a capitalist world, and a lot of, you know, people try to tell us capitalism is the only possible reality.
I think even the capitalists don't think that, if you see that.
Yeah,
And
but
because the term of disruption today
Yeah.
is actually something that you imagine something different.
yes.
Yeah. So I would say that if we look at neutral, not sort of ideologically speaking, but you have these sort of processes today where a lot of people question, is the things that we do right or wrong, or should we do it different?
Yes.
So the way actually that culture and art and also the science can show us that there are different ways.
Yes.
Yeah. But we need, as a society, be open-minded to do it.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, because we came to the realization that we failed. I mean, we failed our planet. And we failed, I mean, you can see the violence in the world. We failed our humanity. We failed in lots of places. So I think it's good to start to think that other possibilities exist.
What is, sorry if I challenge you and you're not obliged to answer, but what do you see from your aspect, with your background, what our American friends are doing now with all the disruption they are trying to now organize?
I mean, it's very scary, I think, what's happening, because it's going to affect not only what's happening in the United States, but throughout. Like, I know basic things. For instance, I know there's a release of, you know, certain sense of homophobia and transphobia that we thought that we started to get past. And now there's like a comeback of these, you know, they've released monsters, I think, and I don't speak only in the US, but they allowed other monsters to now to speak up and, you know, like to act upon hate. So I think it's what is happening now, and maybe what will happen under the term of Trump will be damaging for a very, very long time, and it's going to undo, you know, social work that's been done for very long, and now it's everything feels to be falling apart. And we could see how tech and, you know, like capital directly followed, you know, the this trend, and this is what is sad. I mean, all the ideals that you know, like these big, you know, like companies were promoting, we felt like it took one day for everything to
I'm
fall
a little
apart.
bit challenging you. I'm not pro and contra here, but I'm just saying from what you were saying, which I strongly believe is very important, that you, from the art side, show us through imagination other worlds, other things. Sometimes in politics, sometimes in business, you need this disruption also to change. Probably we, us two and others, should think more positively and see this as an opportunity. You see, when you negatively positioned, then you actually contribute to this.
Yeah,
I'm trying to be positive. If you see what I'm saying.
I totally understand, but it really depends on your position. I mean, it's a position of privilege to be able to see this as, you know, as this disruption will create something positive, because some people will pay the price of this, and very unprivileged people will be crushed literally by what is happening. I think also there's we have come to almost a dead end in how things are done. I mean, things are not working. So this kind of, even a negative disruption could create maybe something.
There we agree, I think, right?
Yes, on a theoretical base, but we cannot forget who is also paying the price of this disruption. And that's
very
what
right.
I mean. That's what is the price for this, and who is paying the price for this? And it's usually the people who are more marginalized. I spoke about, like homophobia, transphobia, people who are really fragile and have been like really fighting to find a place in society that's more safe. These are the first people who will be losing in this. So
I agree with you, and I think this is, as I said, a very important aspect, that we remind those disruptors not to go alone, but take the people with them. You see what I'm saying? And I agree with you that the risk is always there. Change in history has always been risky.
Yeah.
But if you don't perform change, and you in art show change continuously through your creativity, it's very important that we, as you say, I take your words and I find them great. We have come to a dead end. And sometimes when you are there,
we need creative solutions, that's for sure.
Exactly.
But but we need also to always be aware of who's paying the price of this. Because there are, I think, I still believe, there are also possibilities where we don't have to crush all these people on the way of disruption.
There I agree with you, and I think that's what I meant before. We should be the ones who advocate the humanitarian aspect. Also from business, but also from your side, and therefore I would say we should be the ones that remind them continuously of this fact.
If they listen to us.
I would say, as you can hear, I'm an optimist.
Yes, I can see that. I mean, I'm happy. I mean, despite everything, I mean, if I wasn't an optimist, I would stop doing what I'm doing, and I will, like creating art and still believing in what we do require a very, very big amount of, like optimism and, like trust trust, I don't know, but more believe in what we do. Because the moment I'll stop believing, one thing I hate is becoming cynical, and I would never become cynical. So I believe in what I do, and if I still do it, it's because I believe it's still possible. And the day I'll feel it's no more possibility of making things better, I think I'll just maybe do some gardening and stay in my house.
I do not hope that, because your art is great and you should continue that. And I think when you talked about imagination, we should give these people imagination. If you are so tied up in your either political work or in your business work, then you sometimes forget things around you. And it's on us to inspire them.
Yes. I think what we do, at least as an artist, what we do is we create the conditions. Like when we were talking about the film screening yesterday, I mean, a film is you create a world and people come and, get immersed into this world. And this create the conditions for them to think, okay, that's where I want to go. That's, I didn't think about this, like opening up other things. I don't think we have a role as a guiders or, as people who know the way and we're guiding anyone else. We just create conditions for people to, for things to pop up here and there and other ideas to be able to exist.
I think there are enough people around who pretend to know.
Yes, we don't need more of them.
Yes, we have a lot of them.
100%.
In all cultures, in all aspects of our human world. But we should actually tell them that this is not the only way.
Yes.
Yeah. I must say it is always fascinating to talk to somebody like you with your broad understanding of culture and differences. Your work is great.
Thank you.
And I wish you good luck in everything you do.
You.
And bring the people together as you do.
We hope.
And imagination, as you say.
Yes.
Creativity is great.
Thank you
so much. And I wish
much.
to your home country really all the best, because it's close to my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening in.
Thanks.